Elise was alone on the ground, sitting next to Taka's grave and talking about how they were the only one who ever treated him like a person. Twisting the cap and drinking the liquor bottle's contents, he chugged the alcohol down in until the very last drop. He wipes his mouth clean, and with that, the only memento he has left of his fallen friend is their diary and sunglasses, which he wore as the orc stood up to leave. Since it was just about time to head off, he promised to bring something better and have a drink together next time. On the bogged red ground, he swore to find it without a doubt. The one thing his friend keeps searing for in this world is a splendid bottle of whiskey. At the free city of Landrace, a guard lets a carriage pass. Moving on to the next traveler, he asks for an entry permit as usual and doesn't stop them for too long. It's been a year since the last feudal lord died, and traffic in and out of the city has increased a ton. Feeling something wrong, he turned to the side and was met with Elise's menacing face staring down at him. Flinching and stuttering, fear began to take over the man's heart as he identified the stranger as a massive orc, standing at more than 2 meters tall. On top of its melon-colored skin, it scarily wore sunglasses and blew smoke from the lit cigar in its mouth. Moreover, its arms are massive, roughly the size of at least 3 women's waists. He is further shocked when Elise speaks in slight skepticism as he asks when Landrace became a free city. Despite it all, the guard confirms that he's inhuman, who looks gross no matter which way he's viewed. Lastly, he's bursting with the energy and vibe of an extremely dangerous being. As a guard, he's unable to let such a person pass, so he calls on his comrades to block the way, slightly annoyed at how they're treating him based on his species. Elise asks if they're looking to get hurt. Mustering his courage, the man tells him to freeze and questions what business a barbarian has in their city. Calmly taking the sunglasses off, the orc explains that he's half human and glares at them with his menacing and distinctive eyes. As the eyes with red spots nearly bore into them, they deem him one with mixed blood. That said, it doesn't stop them from blocking his way, and they continue to point their spears, making him sigh in exasperation. Sick of it, Elise tosses them his entry permit, adventurer's license, and a few other things to pass. Although hesitant, they're stunned after confirming that everything he has is legitimate. As the half-orc lit his cigar, they wondered who in the world the strange personality was, blowing smoke calmly by the gate. With this, Elise introduced himself, carrying his entire body with immense pride and dignity. If it really is a free city, he insists that there is no reason that he shouldn't be let in. Still wanting to block his way, the guard grits his teeth, unable to denounce his documents. He tells him to go to an adventurer's guild first, and begins to give directions after warning him against causing any troubles. The adventurer's hand is raised, and he says there's no need for an explanation, as his snout will tell him all he needs to know. Looking around, he points to the priest-like person they let in before him, and advises the guards to check his person again, and more thoroughly this time, as he can smell the faint odor of drugs from the talisman in his pocket. Spotting the pouch and deciding to follow his advice, the guards ran to surround the now suspicious man. While Elise nonchalantly walked away, waving his hand, the man arrested, loudly questioning how he was found out. The half-orc continued to walk, his boots thudding on the ground, and his nose moving around to sniff his way to his destination. Eventually, he reaches Landrace's Adventurers Guild, a relatively respectable-looking building, although notably connected directly to a bar. Having reached the right place, he took hold of the doors and entered without much expectation. The moment he went in, he felt the stairs dig into his body. Their expressions and feelings were a mixture of disgust and fear, staying consistent whichever way he turned. Blowing smoke, he looked up at the upper floor, where he sees a few people whispering to each other, obviously talking about him. He gnashed his teeth in annoyance, as it's always the same no matter which city he goes to. The people's reactions upon seeing him don't change at all. He kills the cigar for now and comes up to the counter, excusing himself for the intrusion. The barkeep welcomes him at first, but gets the same disgusted face upon seeing his eyes, and realizing that he's of mixed blood. He insists he doesn't mind as long as he doesn't stay long, since it's been a free city for a few years now. Feeling impatient, the man repeatedly tapped his finger, asking what the visitor's order is. Elise then mentions whiskey, wondering if he has any of the drink. This confuses the barkeep, who questions if it's a native drink of barbarians like him. Accepting that it ends in another failure, he moves on and asks for a proper meal, accompanied by some of their local alcohol. Staring into his eyes, the barkeep charges him 5 silver coins for the order. It's exuberant and ridiculously expensive, obviously a manifestation of their discrimination. Getting riled up, he asks if they're serving food for royalty, but is simply told to leave if he's dissatisfied. With no choice, he tosses coins to the counter. Left alone while his order was prepared, Elise grumbled, saying it's likely worth 1 coin at best. Just then, the man returned, apologizing for making him wait. He turned his head and was shocked to find an abundant plate filled with delectable and seasonal protein, accompanied by healthy side dishes. Lastly, refreshing black ale to blow all the exhaustion of the day away. More than his exhaustion, the adventurer's annoyance dissipates as he excitedly holds his utensils to dig in. The food looks amazing, and so does the fizzing ale that was beside the plate. He studied the glass-looking container, which didn't seem to be typical ceramic or wood. Inside it was a deep and intense amber, almost black-looking. He sniffed to take it all in, noting the citrus-like scent that was combined with a subtle hint of apricot. Gulping down, he barely stops himself from scarfing the amazing selection down. As he was about to start eating, a bottle flew over, going over his table and crashing right to the floor. With his meal interrupted, Elise sighs hard and turns to see the reason. At the table nearby, a bunch of men are angrily talking about a woman, saying she has no manners. Proving their point, she points at them, saying they should think of it as an honor, as she's come to announce that she's creating a party. Wearing a flashy dress and calling them a bunch of rookies, she arrogantly introduces herself as Margaret. She spins around and tries to charm them into liking her, making full use of her appearance. That said, Elise finds himself bothered, seeing her stick out more than a sore thumb. The men recognize her as the corrupt lord's orphan, but she cuts them off, prepared to show her true power. With proud eyes, she shares how she was promoted to rank E just 5 days after becoming an adventurer. Everyone is shocked by the declaration, falling still and silent as she reiterated her rank. The orcs sighed while she tried to read their reactions. Feeling successful, she insists that it's their chance to witness and join the beginning of her legend. To those who team up with her, she promises a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for fame and fortune. Even winking and laughing in delight at her pitch, she falls shocked, as the entire bar suddenly burst into mocking laughter, pointing at her for being an E rank after several days. The achievement she was proud of is used to ridicule her, and Margaret's embarrassment began to accumulate, not expecting it. She demands to know what was so funny, saying the receptionist even called her the long-awaited rookie. Truth be told, even a child can reach E rank, and it's basically a test to see if they'll stay with the guild. In short, it's the rank of a super rookie, which she was looking down on just earlier. Once more, the hall is filled with mocking laughter. Moving on, they started to make fun of her outfit as well, calling it absolutely wacky, despite her explaining that it was given by her father. Elise gripped his fist as her squeal rang out when they approached. With hateful eyes, she demanded to know what they're doing, calling them indecent brutes. However, they're as indecent as she believes, and only smile, saying they're just having fun. They moved in to surround her, starting to place their hands on her body. Since her father was so corrupt, they intend to collect by taking his property. Margaret glares at them, her eyes filled with fury, as she denies the allegation, but falls silent and looks away, unable to answer as she's asked why everyone rejoiced when her father finally died. Moreover, the corrupt lord's final moments were spent indulging himself in alcohol. Elise is about to say something when his entire table flips over, hit by the woman who was sent crashing over, kicked by the men who blame the lord's death for turning the fortified town into a free city. They're in disbelief as she dares to join the place of merchants and adventurers, and they say someone from a broken family like her should just sell herself out. The orc's snout continued to sniff the air, and her eyes trembled with pain and offense. Feeling hopeless, she continued to stay on the floor, surrounded by the men's laughter. It hurt, but they didn't care and cackled louder, finding pleasure in seeing her shake, on the verge of tears. Finally, her tears fell as she remembered her father, kneeling down to comfort her. Closing his eyes for a moment, Elise opened them, now with a chilling glare filled with wrath. His very aura sends shivers down the men's spines, and they question what they just felt. Meanwhile, the half-orc made his way to the lady, kneeling down to meet her and reaching his hand out. Surprised, she takes his hand and stands up, seeing nothing but his back after. His heavy footsteps thud on the ground as he walked to the source of the awful stench in his snout. Watching his proud and reliable figure, all of Margaret's fear disappeared in an instant. Just from the warmth of his hand, she could tell that the stranger was angry on her behalf. Approaching the men who were half his size, Elise calls them out for being too lively, and asks how many silver coins. Seeing their foolishness and confusion by the sudden question, he expounds, asking how much they think his food and alcohol, which they ruined, cost. Talking amongst themselves, they answer and say 3 copper coins. Told that it was worth 5 silver coins, they burst out laughing, finding it too ridiculous a price, and knowing he was scammed. They argue that it's his fault for falling for it, and tell him to get lost as they have a lesson to teach the woman, who they once more call the corrupt noble's daughter. The title strikes her heart, but they continue and move on to call the orc insulting names as well. However, he isn't one to take such insults lying down. having fun with their conversation. A sinister rage is incited in the half-orc, and he glares at them, ready to strike. Baring his teeth, he says the only ones who will learn a lesson there is them. This doesn't seem to be enough to scare the men, as they smash a bottle on his head. A silence takes the bar, and the man who hit him tells the orc to leave if he's had enough. Ellis just chuckles, concluding that the cheap liquor that suits them is nowhere near the level of whiskey he's looking for. As the pathetic group mutters, not understanding what he means, he says it's the result of human creativity. Filled with rage, he taught them a lesson about alcohol. Still somehow holding on to their bravery, they take the orc by the collar, ordering him to shut up and calling him a pig. Unfortunately, they lay hands on the sunglasses hanging by his neck. This pushes him over the edge. In an instant, Elise releases his anger and throws them through the guild's roof, sending them crashing right through. Next time, it'd do them well to keep their hands off of someone else's memento. To him, the number one thing that sours the taste of alcohol is simply a woman's tears. The charismatic and romantic line stuns Margit, and she later finds her body wrapped in his large and warm overcoat. Although flustered, she thanks him for helping, and he waves it off, proceeding to fix his table. He picks the fallen pieces of food up from the floor, and she asks if he's still going to eat it. It'd be a waste not to. After all, someone went through the trouble of making it for him. His sentiments and humility surprises her. As he was about to take a bite, another bountiful plate and pint were slid onto his table. The barkeep sincerely thanks him for chasing the punks out. Leaving, he says 2 silver coins for a meal should be enough for now. He acts cool, but it's still awfully expensive. With this, the orc and noble introduce themselves to each other, but Ellis already knows who she is. To his surprise, she asks if he'd like to form a party with her. Asking if her eyes have gone bad, he emphasizes how he's a half-orc, an obvious cocktail of nothing but bad news. That said, she also has quite the reputation as the corrupt lord's orphan daughter. He understands, but his years of being hated are nowhere near or similar to hers. Calling her a royal, he tells her to leave him alone. She nearly gives up but remembers something. Margit asks if he's sure and suddenly claims to know about the whiskey he's desperately looking for. His attention is locked on her. Elise stares at her confident smirk for a moment and starts to sniff the air. As expected, she's a complete liar, willing to do what it takes to get him on her side. Impatience, anxiety, nervousness, and determination are scents of a liar, which he can pick up. Annoyed, he tells her to listen. She gets hopeful, but it's quickly replaced by something else, when he shares how whiskey is a special drink from his dead buddy. To use it so shamelessly for a bluff angers him so much that he threatens to hurt her if she doesn't apologize. She's shocked, but steels her resolve. Her voice trembles, but she's determined to see their partnership through and sets her manners aside. He's pissed off, but sees the girl's tearful eyes. His own gaze softens, more so when he sees her hands trembling inside his coat. It's the smell of desperation, particularly one to talk to him. Just as he felt when he lost Taka, she's currently fighting through loneliness and sadness. With this, he agrees to hear her out until he finishes his meal. Surprised that her determination got to him, she nearly broke into tears. Elise starts the conversation off, noting how he heard about her father being the former lord. He ruled over the town up until he died a year ago. After, a new lord came along and stole his property, and among the stolen goods was her father's rare collection of alcohol. His snout confirms that she's telling the truth. In other words, there's a possibility that the collection has the whiskey he's been looking for. Margit can't say that for sure, but is certain that their stock is the best in the entire town. He asks about the man who took over the lord's position. He's an adventurer and the leader of an A-rank party, the Shade of Sirius. His rank alone makes quite the story, as A-rankers stand as stars in the adventurer world, receiving much better support than aristocrats. That said, Elise wonders how a lord's succession ended the town's history as a fortress city. Unfortunately, Margit doesn't seem to know anything about that either. Seeing him consider her compelling story, she begins to get hopeful. It's quite a difficult situation of an E-rank newbie trying to compete with an A-rank to take lordship. An amateur's bravery will only last for a day, and quitting early would be the best thing to do. However, this is also exactly why she needs his strength. Gulping his drink down, he slams it on the table. Despite his satisfaction over the ale, Elise apologizes and refuses to help her cause. She questions the decision. It's honorable to try and regain her father's property, and the chance to find whiskey is tempting. Honestly, he'd be fine with a commission to recover the stolen goods, but becoming partners is a different story. Demanding an explanation, she's told that he's simply not willing to be responsible for her life. The truth is, no matter who it is, there will never be someone on par with Taka for him, He apologizes, turning his head away as she shook. However, her sadness and desperation soon turned into anger, and she gritted her teeth, deciding to take a different route. Stomping down on the table, Margaret slammed her foot in fury over how everyone in the bar has been treating her like a useless princess. She's sick and tired of it all. The unexpected change in her demeanor makes Elise meek. The girl turns to the barkeep and orders him to take out the entire bar's stock of alcohol. Getting an idea of what she's about to do, he tries to stop her, but it's too late. With this, she announces that the two of them will be having a drink off. It's a way to settle disputes, where participants drink till they drop and must follow the survivor's wish. This, without a doubt, is the first time in history where the competition is held between half-orc and noble. The barkeep slams a couple of pints on their table, and the other customers start to take notice. As they begin making bets, Elise questions her train of thought, but like she said, she's determined to see their partnership through. He earlier said that her bravery will only last a day, so she intends to go all in until it runs out. If she wins, he has to reconsider joining her party. The girl goads him on, asking if he's a cowardly piglet. Taking the bait, he accepts the challenge and calls for the beer barrels. The night grew deep, and the next morning came. Elise opened his eyes in an unfamiliar home and somehow found himself sleeping on a bed, with Margaret lying right on top of his belly. The situation has him confused, but the girl then wakes up, smugly and proudly saying she won the challenge. As promised, he will now be joining her party. His mouth opens in unexpected shock. Years ago at a bar, Elise told Taka that the alcohol there isn't bad at all. The human, with an amused smile, asks how much he's going to drink, reminding the orc that his wallet has limits. Reminded of the promise to treat him, he could only smile in resignation. Back then, they doubted they'd find anyone like them in the continent. However, Elise now woke up in an unfamiliar bed, having met someone who could drink as much as them. He looks up in shock and starts to sweat, seeing Margaret sit on top of him and happily greeting a good morning. With this, he recalls last night's incident and the entire drink off. During the contest, he passed out after downing 53 drinks. Unaware that she was only on her 51st, insisted that the night ended with her victory. She squeezed his body, prodding him to accept. His head hurriedly turns away as the girl's body was pressing heavily into his, but she went even closer, asking if he intends to run away after losing to a woman. Since he's unable to say much in the situation, she takes it as an acceptance of their promise and deems him a member of her party. This is settled, and the orc is no longer able to argue. Soon enough, the pair make their way to the Adventurers Guild and try to register their party. However, the receptionist informs Margaret that she still can't form one. This annoys her even more, but Elise adds on, explaining that a party has specific requirements to be met before getting approved. Seeing her further confusion, he explains there needs to be at least 3 members, including a stranker. Unfortunately, they're down a member. The guild's motto is not rejecting those who come, and would welcome their request if they're strong, even if it's the despised Lady of Landres or a filthy mixed blood orc. Upon hearing the names, Elise cuts the end off his cigar, saying he wants to get a request signed right away. With no time to chit-chat, he lights the cigar, taking a smoke and repeating the receptionist's words about their motto. His menacing glare gets to her, and she shivers in fear for a moment. Scared from the sheer gaze, she gets right to work and looks for a mission they can take on. Since people are trying to walk over them, he won't let it happen. After all, Margaret's only strong factor is her guts to do what she wants. The girl smiles at his words and jumps on his back to give the half-orc a hug. Elise scolds her for sneakily clinging to him, and she reasons that she just got carried away. Soon after, they're seated with the barkeep, who requests that they subjugate haggis, which are swarming the plains and forests. They're hostile creatures that are small but extremely dangerous, often targeting human spines and feet. He asks for the reward, meeting the man's eyes. To his surprise and disappointment, it's 5 silver coins, worth as much as yesterday's meal. Having no choice but to accept, the two head out, with Margaret leading the way. Just before he could leave, the receptionist calls to Elise and suddenly hands him a letter. As he asks who it's from, she points to the area above them. Standing there is the new Lord Orto, who's watching them with a smile. Elise has received a letter from Orto, an rank adventurer and the ruler of the town. He exchanges gazes with the new Lord of Landres. He then looks back at Margaret, feeling like things are about to get more complicated. However, in the moment he looked at her, the Lord appeared beside him, calling his name as it's one he's never heard before. Elise is stunned by how fast he moved. Meanwhile, Orto goes on about how he isn't a famous adventurer, but somehow managed to present documents to the guards, proving his connections to important people. The half-orc asks if there was a flaw in the process, but this isn't the case at all. In fact, it's what makes it so interesting. There isn't any hostility between them. Even with Elise nose sniffing for the Lord's scent, all he smells is overflowing vitality, exuding a calmness free of bravado, a true 1%. Ordo offers to ask who the strange orc is with a silly face, but finds the approach a bit too dull. With this, he gives him the freedom to break the seal on the letter or not, expressing how he prefer it be read later on, perhaps after finishing the mission with his new partner. Deep in the woods later on, Margaret spots a few creatures on a tree and calls to Elise, saying she's found the haggis. The tiny creatures bare their teeth and snarl at her, ready to attack. In that moment, they began jumping around with terrifying speed, bouncing from one tree to another. However, since they're all coming at her in the end, she knows what to expect and simply prepares to counter. The first couple comes close, and she quickly moves to take them out. The onslaught continues, and her movement is nearly flawless, using her entire body to dodge and reach the targets. With one final swing, she seals the deal and wraps the mission up, sending the haggis flying in Elise's direction. Smoking his cigar, the orc keeps his feelings to himself for now. She's proud of what she achieved, saying it's wisdom passed from her adventurer mother. Honestly speaking, he's delightfully surprised by her capabilities. If they're talking about sheer combatability, she's practically halfway to becoming a professional. He continues to observe the girl, who's elated by her performance. It's commendable for a rookie, at least he wants to say this, but she's leaving her guard completely open. A haggis attacks from behind. Distracted by the cigar thrown at its snout, Elise takes the opportunity and dashes in to cut the creature down in an instant. Margaret is amazed by what she just saw. Despite his massive frame, the half-orc closed the gap in the blink of an eye. Moreover, his rare double-edged black blade, which is more like a longsword, was drawn in one breath. With this, she witnesses firsthand what it means to be an adventurer and how strong a ranker is supposed to be. Considering this, she wonders just how strong a ranker could be. She dances around, following the orc around as they stop by the stream. There he takes a small knife out and proceeds to get a lesson on breaking down the haggis to gather materials. The fur might not fetch much, but the meat is delicious and has antibodies for antidotes. It's something she learned on the training grounds as well, but they'll have to get strong liquor to make it work quickly. As strong booze is the culprit, he can't believe that he let his friend bite the dust. Thinking about it for a while, he recalls how the former lord supposedly died, drowning in his own drink. He looks to Margaret with a cautious expression and sees her smiling at him. Thinking it'd be for the best that she remain ignorant, he invites her to continue dismembering the haggis. Later on, he starts to feel bad about the letter in his hands. The seal is so tight that he can't even catch a whiff of what's inside, giving him a sense of foreboding. Depending on his choice and timing, reading its contents might shift things pragmatically. Elise looks at the girl, working so hard on the creature she hunted on her own. What's probably written is the fact that there's no whiskey in her father's cellar. That said, he already knows that. He's well aware of the fact. Just then, a dagger sped towards them. The orc catches it, swiftly and calmly, as if already expecting it. He turns to the attacker's direction, saying he already gets it. The attacks have been coming, ever since they left the city, and they're obviously targeting Margaret. For now, it'd be best to pull away from the sniper's nest. He sniffs the blade. On top of it all, the enemy is using real and heavy-duty poison, so it isn't the work of some amateur thug. Still looking in the attacker's direction, he ignores the excited girl, saying she took way too long to gut the creature. Margaret is being targeted by someone. He doesn't want to be caught off guard, so if they want to strike, it should be from their side. Walking through the forest, Elise calls to the girl, telling her to wait at a campsite just ahead. While he gathers firewood, feeling afraid, she asks if he has any intention to vanish and leave her all alone. Looking at her trembling eyes, he's surprised by how oddly sharp she can be sometimes. As he reasons that he needs to pee, she lets him go right away, not wanting to witness the sight. With this, they part ways. Now split up, they can narrow the opponent's movements by making them choose who to follow. If they're a dull-witted assassin, they'll go straight for Margaret, and he can intercept. On the contrary, if they're conscious and wait, the pair can secure a safe route back to the city. The orc can also trace the scent later and take care of it, and now he wonders what to do. He feels something from behind. The killing intent has suddenly intensified. Finally feeling it in its entirety, he smiles upon realizing that the target isn't Margaret after all. Multiple poison arrows appear out of nowhere and shoot right at him. Jumping, rolling, and running around, he manages to evade the sharp projectiles, launched strongly enough to lodge themselves into the ground. It's long-range magic, a particularly effective way of dealing with orcs. Elise turns to his side and sees a cloaked figure staring right at him. Facing off, he observes the figure that's oozing with dark magic. Their height is roughly the same, but the scent surrounding him is different. Getting an idea, he takes the poison dagger from before and smells it quite closely. Smiling, he winds his arm up, saying it's something he had forgotten. Thrown right at the rogue figure, the blade flies fast and true, hitting the target right at its mark. He knew it all along and could tell by the scent. It's just a wooden figure draped in a robe. In other words, the enemy is somewhere else. Just then, more weapons appear above him and shoot at the unsuspecting orc. Feeling underestimated and insulted, moving at a speed unbecoming of his mass, he catches all projectiles, clenching his fist tight and slowly opening. He shows the enemy how he crushed them with his bare hands. In the shadows, a young girl realizes that she needs a potion to keep fighting. They acknowledge each other. If it were a regular orc, it would have been finished earlier. On the other hand, the girl is so skilled that Alice can't catch her scent at all. As he's completely lost and unable to pinpoint her location, more shards appear and shoot. While he's preoccupied with defending against them, she appears from the shadows, emerging from the ground. He turns around too late, as she's already leaped out to strike. Moving insanely fast, she delivers a powerful kick to his face. The mysterious girl demands that he return Margaret at once, addressing her formally while calling him names. He's surprised by the attack. Receiving a powerful kick to the face, Elise commends her interesting magic, as it's been ages since he was last caught off guard like that. She glares at him, calling the orc a filthy pig. While the two face off, another figure is seen flying from above. In the sky, Ordo watches them, noting how the maid jumped the gun a bit. Smiling in amusement, he observes closely, wanting to see what the orc has in him. The battle continues. Jumping high to get some momentum. The girl raised her leg and swung down to deal a powerful blow. Already knowing where she is, it doesn't take much to defend this time. She curses him for laying a hand on her lady. She fully switches to martial arts, attacking with her entire body. Somehow well-versed, Elise matches her movements, mixing counters with blocks. She catches him off guard by following up with daggers, which hit his arm and deliver the poison. Now that she's created an opening, the girl regains her footing and takes her staff out, precisely made to shorten her incantations. Operating it like a gun and making quick movements with her hands, she points the staff at him, launching a powerful shot. The attack is so strong that Ordo sees the blast from far away. However, it didn't work, so she latches onto his arm, intending to break it in half. Alice slams the crafty girl to the ground and swings to force her back. As she flips back to position, the lord of the city is impressed. The maid of Margaret's late father once belonged to a notorious band of thieves from the eastern continent. As an adventurer, she hovers around a solid rank B, but he's certain that she has more to offer. Alice fights back, unleashing a powerful blow, but sees simply too fast. Evading to a tree, she launches herself to deliver another kick. However, her immense speed is ineffective, as her blows are too light. Moving around as the fight dragged on, the two each drank their potions to replenish their stamina. However, Gilles shows his resourcefulness by throwing the bottle at her, knocking the staff away from her hand. As it clattered to the ground, he looked at their surroundings and suggested that they call it a day. For some reason, she began to sway, seemingly unable to control her body. Elise recognizes the potion of recovery from Taka's memoirs as a magic item that can restore one's health temporarily, but with the caveat that it can lead to severe intoxication or death. The orc looks at his exhausted maid enemy, thinking she is bolder than most brave adventurers for drinking a potion twice already. The maid is still determined to continue on in the battle for her Lady Margaret and is secretly starting to summon wooden spikes out of the surrounding trees magically. She introduces herself as Nana and then unleashes the spikes. The spikes projected are as large as tree logs themselves and attack Elise like giant tentacles. He sees Nana fall out of consciousness, and he realizes that the maid has unleashed everything she has for her final spell. The orc readies his giant weapon to get ready for the spikes coming after him from all directions in the forest. Through the weapon, he has unleashed a lightning strike from the sky that destroys a large section of the forest like a comet. Margaret sees the powerful attack from a distance and fears for what might have happened to Elise. What's left out of the ashes is a crater big enough to fit a small town. It is revealed that at its center is Elise, who is perfectly fine and is carrying Nana in his arms. The maid is in awe at the powerful warhammer he is holding. However, most of all, she is confused about why her enemy has saved her. Elise tells her that he has realized that she is Margaret's loyal companion, and that she understands that seeing her lady being partnered up with a half-blood orc must be too much for her. He assures her that he is not angry since these kinds of misunderstandings are a regular occurrence for him. Nana is so embarrassed by her actions that she is unable to look at him. Ordo suddenly shows himself, praising the orc for his majestic attack. Meanwhile, Margaret reaches the crater and screams Ordo's name. Her face is filled with fury upon the sight of her enemy. Margaret demands that Ordo step away from her comrades. She charges at the man with her weapon. Despite this, Ordo would not even look at her. The girl swings her weapon at him, but a barrier comes in between to protect the man. Margaret compares the feeling to striking the surface of water itself. Elise watches the battle and recognizes that Orto is using a spell that transforms the vast concept of water into a defensive shield. No matter how many times Margaret strikes, no attack reaches the untroubled man. Elise recognizes the man's mastery of magic, since water magic is considered the apex of skill. He recognizes that Margaret has no chance to win, since it would take an attack powerful enough to vaporize a lake to bypass the barrier. Orto faces him and wonders if his thunder attack earlier can break through his barrier. The orc assures the man that he does not dislike him, nor does he consider him an enemy. However, he warns him not to take his eyes off Margaret for even a second. Suddenly, Margaret is able to hit him in the face as if there were no barrier between them. Orto is shocked, unable to process what just happened. Margaret takes the moment to reintroduce herself, declaring that she will one day surpass him. Elise and Nana are glad to see that Margaret's attack has worked. Orto tries to analyze what just happened and realizes that the girl must have used an enchanted tool against him that can be compared to Elise Warhammer's Sinful Duke. He also believes that his focus on Elise must have temporarily distracted him from focusing on the battle. Meanwhile, a masked, large, and muscular woman has already pinned Margaret to the ground, and she is angry at the girl for her attack on her friend. Elise suddenly charges and swings his weapon at the woman, making her back off. The orc asks Margaret if she is okay. The noblewoman answers back that he has everything under control. She is so proud that Elise wonders why he is so hard at work protecting her. Despite this, he smiles, feeling enjoyment out of the situation. He faces the large woman and tells her they are the same for being protectors of their friends. The mask of the woman suddenly cracks and breaks, revealing the sad face underneath. Her name is Shizu and her eyes show pupils that are as sharp as a cat's. Nana recognizes it as the eyes of Nazari. Since they have the same eyes, Elise recognizes her as a half-breed but of the human and dwarf races. Shizu furthers the comparison by letting him know that she also wields a warhammer like him. However, unlike his weapon, which looks like a metallic spiky rose sword, hers looks like a metallic spiky rose spear. She challenges him to a duel to know which warrior has the more powerful weapon. Both charge up their magic. Elise gathers lighting for his sword, while the enemy gathers giant shadow vines on her spear. The two combatants attack each other with their magic energy projectiles. The sight is so incredible, Margaret and Nana feel like they are ants looking upon giants. It turns out Orto has come in between the two combatants' attacks, using his water barrier to neutralize both. Orto apologizes to Elise for what just happened, and he tells Shizu to drop her weapon. Nana takes a closer look at the large woman and realizes that she is the same half-blood dwarf that single-handedly wiped out her band of thieves in the past. She looks at Elise and believes he is a monster to be able to go toe-to-toe with her. Orto puts his attention on Margaret and warns her that she will not be able to reach his level, since she will always be the princess who is in need of protection and never the leader of a party who stands shoulder to shoulder with her comrades. Elise corrects him and tells him that he already considers Margaret his equal since she has accepted him as hers. This admission puts a smile on the girl's face. Elise then pulls out the invitation letter. He tells her that it is a letter from Odo he received before leaving town. The smiling Ordo encourages him to open it. It is revealed that the content is just a blank piece of paper. Margaret thinks the cocky man is mocking them. Meanwhile, Elise is sniffing the paper. It intrigues him that it smells almost like whiskey. Ordo smiles at his observation. He tells him the legend of a miraculous water crafted by people from another world, said to embody the 7 great spirits of the world, known as whiskey. Elise asks how much he knows. The man does not answer, only telling him that they are on the same treasure hunt. The orc declares that he will find it first in honor of the memory of his friend. On the other hand, Ordo declares that the miracle elixir will be his. He challenges Elise to compete with him for the divine drink. Then he teleports away with Shizu. Elise, Margaret, and Nana are in the Adventurers Guild to submit their 70 slayed haggis. With its completion, the elf receptionist gives them the reward money as well as promotes Margaret to rank D. They celebrate by drinking beer together in the tavern. They are served with fried haggis fritters from the meat they collect. It looks so delicious they cannot stop drooling over it. Elise gets into telling them about how he wants to find whiskey for his dear friend and that he only learned from Orto that his friend came from a different world. He shares that he does not care about this revelation and that all he cares about is that he is his best friend. He looks at his mug of beer as he contemplates offering a drink of whiskey at Taka's grave. Margaret is thrilled to see that he has finally opened up to her and that they are the same in a way for becoming an adventurer for the memory of a loved one. She declares her decision that they will get whiskey before Orto can get to it. Elise agrees and tells her they will do it for one another. Margaret is so touched that she gets to play with his cheeks. However, Elise reminds her that they still need to recruit another rank C adventurer to make a party. He proposes that their first priority is for her to level up as well as gather comrades. Margaret becomes excited and proposes that they need a wizard to join them. Elise wants the same thing and also shares her plan of making the wizard their support from behind while vanguards defend and attack the front lines. Elise also makes it known that he wants every companion to be skilled on their own since he never wants to encounter the death of his comrades. Nana thinks he is planning smart since she has heard that the annual death rate for adventurers is 1 in 4. The maid makes it known that she is opposed to Margaret being an adventurer because of the danger, and that she hates that she has partnered up with someone with mixed blood. Despite the insult, Elise remains calm and just continues drinking his mug of beer. She warns her lady that those with the eyes of Mizari are feared to be the harbingers of doom. Margaret tells Elise that Nana is just concerned for her. The orc remains calm and agrees. Despite what the maid said, he wants Nana to be their wizard. He analyzes her skill according to their battle and accounts for her agility and rare unique spells. Aside from that, he can tell through his keen sense of smell that she is an accomplished thief. The maid is so embarrassed by her past that she turns her head away and whistles. The orc assures her that her past does not matter to him and that the Adventurers Guild will still accept her with open arms. Nana goes into deep thought about his words. Margaret also tells her that she believes that their careers as adventurers will be the path to restoring her father's honor. This only makes the maid sad, since she does not believe she is worth that much of her trust. Two people suddenly interrupt their table. One of them tells the group that what they want is impossible since Nana is in their possession. By their smell, Elise can tell that the man is wealthy, while the woman is a battle-honed warrior. From the information, he gathers that they are a merchant and adventurer partnership. Margaret asks who they are. The monocle-wearing gentleman introduces himself as the merchant Kira, while the lady introduces herself as the bodyguard Shalka. Furthermore, they introduce themselves as the C-rank party, known as the Knights of Goose. Shalka goes into Elise's personal space to tell him that her nickname is Orc Hunter, as if she wants it known that she considers him her enemy. Elise stays calm and sarcastically replies that he hates orcs too, like her. Shalka gets annoyed by the comment and resorts to keep insulting him. Despite this, Elise keeps his cool, annoying the woman more. Meanwhile, Margaret recognizes Kira and realizes that he is the merchant his father had dealings with in the past. Kira insults the lady by telling him that business has boomed for him since his father's death, and that he is richer than ever. Furthermore, he reveals that Nana is under a huge debt, and that it means she is his property. The revelation shocks Margaret. She looks at Nana, and she can see that she is unable to face her out of shame. The merchant reveals with eyes of evil glee that she needs 10 gold coins to get out of her debt. Margaret gets shocked. Elise remembers through Taka's memoirs that 1 gold coin equals roughly 1 million yen. He looks at the maid, unable to believe that she is that much of a reckless spender. Nana walks to Kira's side and tells her lady with eyes of sadness that she is neither her friend nor companion. Despite Margaret's plea for her to tell her what is happening, the maid insists that she stays back. With her maid unable to look at her and the Kira and Shalka smiling at her, Margaret is on the verge of tears. She is confused about how her friend could have gotten into this type of trouble if her father had given Nana and the other servants a generous retirement package before he passed away. Elise remembers when he was telling Taka that the villagers they were with at the time hated him for his nose. As he looks at Nana, he remembers Taka telling him back then to use his nose for the protection of others, that it was he alone who could choose to see his nose as either a curse or a gift. Elise can smell the sad emotions Margaret and Nana are sharing, and he does not like it. He then looks at the smiling merchant and gets angry that he is feeding off of their emotions. Meanwhile, Shalka is keeping her glare at him. He can tell from her scent that she wants him to get angry enough to cause a scene. Aside from that, he has also noticed that all eyes in the tavern are on them. He looks back to Shalka and knows she is counting on the crowd to see him start a fight. He tells Margaret that it is time for them to leave. Shalka accuses him of being heartless for not dealing with Nana's trouble. Elise faces Nana and tells her his promise to save her. Then he walks away calmly with Margaret by his side. Margaret looks back at the villains and declares that she will never give up on her party mate. Outside the tavern, Margaret's tears fall. She tells the orc that she has recognized Shalka's aim to provoke them so that everyone would see that they were the ones who started with violence. He feels ashamed that she only recognized her trick at the last minute and just barely hung on. Elise grabs her by the shoulder to comfort her. He tells her that everything will be okay since she can tell from his nose that she and Nana are true friends. This stops Margaret's sad mood. The two of them declare to reclaim their comrade no matter what. Kira is about to enter his house with Nana, and the merchant is about to part ways with Shalka. Nana's face is filled with sadness for her fate. putting a smile on Schalke's face. Kira whispers to his bodyguard to take care of the half-breed orc as soon as possible. Schalke tells him that it needs no mention since she considers the orc to be her prey. She smiles as she leaves. Yet as she walks alone, she criticizes her client for thinking that getting rid of Elise would be easy. She skips going after him for the night and plans to hunt handsome men instead. Meanwhile, Elise and Margit visited the headquarters of the Berna Trading Company. Elise asks the mysterious person he is talking to for money that they can use to rescue their comrade. The woman he is talking to turns out to be Ruri, a high representative of Berna. She shows her familiarity with the orc by telling him that he is still a magnet for trouble. Margit looks at how intimidating Ruri and her bodyguard are and tells Elise that they should not have come to their place for help. Elise assures her that they have come to the right place. Ruri also tries to calm her worries by telling her that her relationship with Elise as a merchant to an adventurer goes as deeply as lovers. She explains the symbiotic relationship between a merchant needing an adventurer's might and an adventurer needing a merchant's gold. Pleen, Ruri's cat beastman bodyguard, suddenly stumps her feet on the table out of frustration. It shocks Margit despite Elise, and Ruri reacts as if nothing is out of the ordinary. Pleen goes all up at the orc's face and tells him that he should not have shown his half-breed face to them. He threatens to chop him up if he continues begging for money. Margit has enough of her personality and demands to leave her friend alone. Pleen tells her to shut up with the most intimidating look, silencing the noble lady. Elise tells the bodyguard that she seems to still be holding a grudge for being defeated by him since he turned down her offer to join her party. The mention of this embarrasses the bodyguard, shutting her up. Ruri tells them to leave their past as fellow adventurers out of the talk. She puts the conversation back on track as she tells Margit that she hopes she will prove to be a kinder merchant than Kira in her eyes. While she knows the nobles worry about recruiting a skimming merchant to fight another, she proposes that in a less than ideal world, she needs to fight fire with fire. She asks Margit to offer her something of great value, or else she will not help her. Elise is about to say something, but Ruri stops him since she wants only Margit to face her so that she can find out if a girl from a fallen family like her has what it takes to be a leader of a party. Margit responds that she is no longer the royalty she once was and is ready to face her as an adventurer. She pulls out a dagger and pulls it off of its hilts. Barris sees her commitment to do what is necessary and is intrigued. Meanwhile, Kira is in a dark room with a stick in his hands. It is revealed that Nana is in front of him, all tied up. As Nana readies the pain she is about to be inflicted with, the words she keeps remembering are when someone tells her that they have no need for bread stolen from others. She narrates that in her childhood, she was a homeless little girl in the eastern part of the continent forced to live in the broken remnants of a centuries-old war because tyrannical nobles made sure that people like her were penniless. One day a man found her sitting on a floor and adopted her. It turns out this man was the leader of a band of thieves, and under him, she learned to be both a fighter and a magician. With each treasure they stole from nobles, their group of thieves only grew stronger. One day she shared a piece of bread with an orphaned and homeless child. This boy slapped away the bread from her hands. He told her with impassioned eyes that he had no need for bread stolen from others, and that she was no different from the nobles who stole from them. Nana was confused about what he meant at the time. It was only later that she realized how rampant the chaos and plundering her band of thieves caused the more they grew larger. Looking back, she realized that she was just blindly following the noble cause of her adopted father without really understanding it. It made her feel like a scrawny dog scavenging for scraps by the side of the road, with no real purpose. Later, Nana saw her entire band of thieves be slaughtered single-handedly by Shizu. She felt so scared and helpless in front of the assailant that she shivered and barked like a dog. After that day, she fled from the east as far as she could, until she ended up on all fours, exhausted and hungry. As she remembered her entire life, she realized that she lived a life full of mistakes and lacking in purpose. Margit, as a little girl, approached her while she was in her pathetic state. The malnourished little Nana asked why a noble like her would want to help someone like her. Margit held her by the shoulders and told her that someone with much wealth like her should share it with those in need. Nana's eyes tear up at seeing a kind noble for the first time. Since then, Nana became a maid of the Margit household and witnessed Margit's father being accused as a wicked aristocrat despite knowing him as a kind person. To her, the Count and Margit embody what a noble should be. She remembered the day the homeless boy accused her of being no better than nobles and thought to herself that she would never falter again. At last, she remembers Margit telling her she is a valuable companion. At present, however, Nana is already filled with wounds because of Kira's constant whipping of her. The merchant offers her a potion of healing. The maid just slaps it away and tells him that she does not need his charity. Kira smiles as if already anticipating her reaction. He goes on in a whipping spree while insulting the maid for not being grateful to him. As she endures the whipping, she tells herself that it is what a thief like her deserves. She thinks about Margit and Elise and hopes that they come to help her. A wall of the room suddenly shatters as Elise charges in. He comments about how vile Kira's stench is that it was easy for him to track him. Nana looks at her saviors and cries in relief. Margit shouts at Kira, making it known that she came to reclaim Nana away from him. Flashback to when the heroes were at the Burnett Trading Company, when Margit was unsheathing her blade. Ruri recognizes the dagger as a mark of her nobility, and that she means to leave it to them as collateral. Ruri tells Margit that she can truly see her resolve. Back at the present, Margit's fury is boiling up seeing Nana in a battered form in such a dark room. Elise calls her name, snapping her back to reality. He tells the girl that if she loses control, then he is out of the party. Margit realizes her mistake and faces the cruel merchant one more time. She throws a heavy bag onto Kira's face with the same force as a punch. Kira is about to open the bag, in disbelief that she managed to gather 10 gold coins. He looks inside and is shocked that it is actually 20 gold coins. Since even he can't carry around that much money, he wonders what kind of deal she made to make so much in such a short time. Meanwhile, Elise carries Nana into his arms. The maid tells him that she is unfortunate to be saved by a half-breed like him twice. She takes it back and admits that she wants to embark on an adventure with all three of them together. He tells him without a hint of regret that he will make it happen. She looks at his face and can only see pure kindness. Meanwhile, Kira refuses the payment and summons his armored guards to fight them. They charge at Elise despite the orc's back being turned. Elise instantly takes down the armored guard like they were nothing. Kira is shocked to see his orc hunting experts handled so easily. The merchant refuses to give up. He tells the noble lady that he would never let her escape for mocking him. He magically summons a giant monster dragon known as Arahato. The monster attacks, yet the adventurer girl meets its charge anyway. She takes down the monster with one hit, much to Elise and Nana's joy. Margit tells the merchant to remember that she is the wickedly despite noblewoman partnered up with a half-breed orc. Margit and her two companions look so intimidating that Kira apologizes in front of them. Schalke comes to Kira's house and gets confused seeing her client tied up. Ruri and Pleen see her, and they tell her that they are representatives from the Burnett Trading Company, and that they are in collaboration with the guards of the Free City to arrest Kira for the accusation of being entangled with illicit drug trade. Ruri tells her that they also need to ask her a few questions. Schalke is so confused that she can't contain herself and shouts. Meanwhile, Elise and the girls are in the middle of a picnic, and he has just presented to them his medical mushroom and cheese congee he cooked up to heal Nana's wounds. The girls are in awe at how good it looks. However, Elise is not finished yet and also adds shaved truffles on top of the dish. He shares that he got the truffles from when they were hunting for haggis. As they share a meal, Nana opens up about her past as a thief. She cries as she apologizes to Margit for keeping her past lie a secret from her. Margit feels bad since she already knows about her past. She tells her that when she was news as a maid, she got so drunk that she told her and her father everything about it. Nana feels so embarrassed that she is frozen still. Elise changes the subject and asks the maid about the reason for her debt. Nana admits that she has asked Kira to buy back a dress that once belonged to Margit since it was a keepsake from her mother and was given to her by her father. Margit is so touched by what she has done that she embraces her. She tells her maid that she is so grateful for what she has done for her. In return, Nana thanks her lady for saving her, as well as Elise. Elise tells her that there is no problem. They turn the conversation to Orto and how evil he is for going after their Margit family's fortune and power. Elise believes that the man must be trying to find the whiskey through Margit's father's inheritance. He reveals that he has a clue that Orto has no idea of and shows the girls his best friend's diary. He shares that whiskey originally came from his friend's world and that he was trying to recreate it. They look at the pages that show the recipe for whiskey, but it is a jumble of different languages that are indecipherable. Nana looks at the other pages and recognizes the handwritten characters as the ones used in the Far East region. Elise is shocked to learn that she can read it. Nana reads the name of the author. She and Margit are shocked to learn that the orc's friend is the S-class adventurer, Taka, the hero who battled the evil god, Mazari. Elise casually tells them that he forgot to mention it. Nana asks how Taka could have known the language of the Far East if he came from another world. Elise replies that Taka once told him that it was the same language he had in his world. Margit, on the other hand, can't contain the excitement of knowing that Elise was once a part of the hero's party that battled the demon Lord Mazari. Nana also comments that it now makes sense that he is so strong. The orc corrects them, telling the girls that he only met Taka after he retired from being an adventurer, and he was already a merchant and master of brewing sake. This revelation confuses the two girls. The three visit the monument that commemorates the expansion of the guild, known as the Tablet of the Fallen. Nan reveals that they are standing in the spot said to be where Missouri has killed Taka. She continues to say that Taka's defeat marked corrupt nobles' tight grip on the land, putting the world into chaos. She remembers Shizu's face when she slaughtered the band of thieves, thinking the turmoil of the East was only possible because of the chaos led by the nobles. Margaret also comments on how hard it was for her father to stop what was happening to the world because of the nobles. The atmosphere is so open that Elise shares that he was cast out of the village where he used to live because the people accused him of being evil for the way he looked. He looks so in pain that Margaret hugs the big oaf to comfort him. Nana also tells him that he is not a bad guy despite being of mixed blood. She hits him by the stomach in her awkward way of comforting him. The story says that Missouri got badly wounded after his battle with Taka and still lies in slumber to this day. Margaret settles in her mind that Taka's death turns out to be greatly exaggerated. Illis shares that he hated Taka the first time they met since he saw him as the reason that the persecution of the mixed blood intensified. Nana asks him what really happened in his battle with Missouri. However, even he does not know that since Taka has refused to talk about his past. Margaret can tell by the orc's sad eyes that he is not telling the whole truth. She tells him about her hope that once they get to know each other better, he can open up to them. Alice tells the girls he will tell them everything he knows. He shares that Taka's companions were killed by Missouri aside from the holy jester, Alfard, who is still missing to this day. Now that Taka is gone, he feels sad that his happy days with him are but a distant memory.